Thanks, Brother Jason. Happy Monday, everybody. I am surviving, though they seem to be cutting more and more parts off of me as I go along. I hope they're not cloning me.
I think they're cloning you.
I've got a great story that really points to a lot of great talking points.
First for that.
What?
Can someone mute?
What'd you say?
They need to cut off of him that's virus free first before they.
Ouch!
Oh man, jeez Louise.
Nature Maine still STD free as of 2023. Thank you very much. Congress is greenlighting psychedelic treatment bill for active duty service members suffering for PTSD. Now, it hasn't passed, but it's being offered. U.S. Representative Dan Crenshaw has tucked within Congress's colossal annual defense bill a priority in the National Defense Authorization Act. Sorry, I didn't have time to edit my shit, so just let me stumble through this here.
Go ahead.
Included in the bill, Representative Dan Crenshaw, Ike Day Psychedelic Therapy to Save Lives Act. Say that 10 times fast. This will direct the Defense Department to create grants for studying psychedelic treatments for active duty service members. Psychedelic substances include MDMA, psilocin, and some plant-based therapies. Active duty service members will be able to participate in the studies if they get clearance from the DoD and are diagnosed with certain post-traumatic conditions. Using psychedelics to treat PTSD is not new, but using it for active duty veterans would be new were this to pass. We have to think outside the box, Crenshaw said during a June news conference unveiling the bill. We're never going to understand the extent to which psychedelics can help our service members until we start actually doing the necessary clinical trials in a controlled environment. Crenshaw, a former Navy SEAL, has been pushing for the measure for years. The House included and passed the bill in the NDAA in 2022, but the Senate dropped the provision. The bill is named after Douglas Mike Day, a Navy SEAL who died by suicide after getting severely injured by multiple bullet wounds in Iraq. When you think of a hero, you think of a guy like Mike, Crenshaw said. Yet, like so many other warriors after Mike made it back home, he began an entirely different, more insidious battle. A battle with the demons that followed him. Maybe, well, we'll get into why. A U.S. Representative Morgan Luttrell, a fellow Houston area Republican, and another former Navy SEAL included Crenshaw's bill as an amendment to the NDAA. Luttrell is one of 5 Texans who sit on the House Armed Services Committee, which puts this bill together each year. The measure has bipartisan support, including AOC, Rokana of California, and some other folks on the other side of the aisle. This is an alternative. This is not the end-all, be-all. We would never say this is another tool you can put in your proverbial toolbox to increase your quality of life. The article goes on a little bit to say that the bill is up for vote and has not yet been passed. Now, 2 things. Number one, any and all treatment for these people, I agree with. I think it's great. Number 2, though, I think we need to look at something. Are we going to begin, and I think we're really at risk in several modalities here of actualizing Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. And if you've never read it, I invite you to at least I invite you to read a summary of it. We seem to fast be approaching this Brave New World approach where psychedelics are used instead of to create a new and envision and create a new and better world that works better for everybody. The government and these corporations and especially the military are looking at them as a tool to smooth over the gnarly side effects of the dystopian nightmare we currently inhabit. And I would say a much better way to approach PTSD and service members is to close our overseas military bases and to stop using these people as pawns in a resource war and a global game of risk meets monopoly. If all these folks weren't over in other countries where we don't belong, murdering people so that we could continue to control their resources, we could use psychedelics to envision stuff like, hey, let's all go clean up our park and offer our handout to our fellow human beings who live in our country. And we'd have more money and resources to do so. And so I think that we need to continue to support the medicalization and therapeutic approach of psychedelics. It's a great strategy to legalization, decriminalization, and lessening the penalties for those who choose to use them. But I think we need to continue to address the facts on our planet here that our current strategies aren't working for people overseas and they aren't working for average Americans. And I'm really encouraged and interested in what you guys have to say. This is Matthew St. Germain for the High at 9 News on a Monday. Let's dig into it.
Man, I think this is great news. I like this bill. Like anything that helps our men and women that serve our country and when they come back to regenerate themselves into society. I'm all about helps deal with the trauma, all of that stuff. I'm all for this. What do you think, Yarrow?
I was thinking about my son's video games where he plays these first-person shooter games, and when you get shot up, you have these little things called a med kit, and you gobble it up, and it like increases your health points. And so I do think that psychedelics could be part of that med kit.
So you mean to be like Super Mario Brothers, where you just like get the mushroom and you fucking level up?
I do think that there's some teaching, some lessons, some opportunities for insight that psychedelics could be helpful in facilitating. I am a big proponent of a guided retreat, though. I don't think that I think the critical element for me is not which psychedelic. Are we talking ayahuasca or mushrooms? Are we talking some 2CB or some lick a toad? Like, I don't really, that to me, like the vehicle isn't as important as this notion that to be done right would include a guide, a chaperone, a psychedelic Sherpa, somebody who's going to be there to give you a warm compress on your forehead or a nice cup of tea, and to make sure that we keep these things safe and sane. Like they talk about the fireworks that you're allowed to buy in the parking lot by Safeway. Safe and sane. We don't need to be exploding all the way up into the air. We need something where we're going to get that benefit, but we're also going to stay within the confines of something that doesn't put us in harm's way when we can't see straight, right? So listen, I'm not mad at anything that helps people who've come back from theaters of operation to recalibrate, readjust, reintegrate, and certainly decriminalizing some of this stuff is I think, an important step towards finding out what modalities are going to allow psychedelics to be the most effective for people.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I just hasten and caution. I think we all need to raise our voices that psychedelics should not be some spackle on the psyche that allows one to continue to drop out of helicopters and murder innocent people for their resources. I think that there is a more intelligent way to navigate the world at this point. I think if we look around the world, what we see is fallout from the U.S., France, Britain, and the U.S. and primarily U.S., French, and English-controlled oil companies playing games from the late 1800s on. If we look at Israel, what's going on there? It's all stuff that started in the 1900s and with World War I, these oil companies gamifying that area so they could continue to extract the wealth without paying the populace. And I'll give you one more. In Iran, which used to be Persia, our CIA killed Mohammad Mossadegh in the 50s when he was democratically elected because he wanted to nationalize their oil and use that oil resource to educate and feed and house his own populace. And we went in there, we murdered him, we reinstalled the Shah, we privatized the oil. American and English oil companies continued to extract the wealth from Iran up until 1980, and we basically empowered and fomented and catalyzed this Islamic revolution that happened in Iran that is now murdering innocent children, murdering innocent women. And all of the seeds for that were planted by the American CIA. And so let's not just use psychedelics as a way to feel good about murdering people. Let's use psychedelics as a way to envision a better future in which violence is not needed in negotiating or navigating with our brothers and sisters on this planet.
Well, I don't think I can say anything after that. We're just going to go to a commercial and we're going to be right back.